Hey YouTube, it's me again, and I just wanted to do a quick video about a lifestyle change that we have made. There's two parts to it, and I'm going to touch on them separately in two separate videos. Okay, so the first one is, growing up, my dad died when I was young, and then my dad had cancer. We found out he had cancer, and then he went in for an immediate emergency operation. They got all the cancer out. He started chemotherapy. His kidneys failed from the chemotherapy being too strong, and he died. So basically, from finding out that he had cancer to finding out that they got most of the cancer and he was just doing the chemotherapy, to 1 week of chemotherapy, it was basically 2 weeks from start to finish. So that being said, I was still young, so I didn't really put a lot of focus on my health. And you think you're invincible and when you're young. And then my brother died, and my brother had an abdominal aneurysm on the aorta, and that apparently is instant death. And it's hereditary. So if you find out that if someone in your family has that, then you have to get checked every few years, and which I have been doing. And so anyway, there have been other health related issues like atherosclerosis, anyway, hardening of the veins and things like that I have a family history of. And when I was younger, I didn't really think it could happen to me. And of course I see that in my kids now. I'm always like, oh, don't do this or don't do that, because I'm worried about their health. And of course they think they're completely invincible because they're young. And I have actually thought, I have done so many bad things to my body, and I just never connected them to cancer or heart disease. I know, because I would always look at it as, well, if I get thin, then I'm healthier. And there's part of that that's true, but I have definitely done things that are not healthy. I've definitely done things that are not healthy. Bright Line Eating has been the most amazing thing to ever happen to me. It is the most, as far as a food thing goes, it is so healthy, so inexpensive, and it has really taught me what portions are, and that is leading me to be able to teach my kids to not grow up fat and things like that. And that is the second part. I will make that video separately, what I'm doing with my family to address especially my older son, to address some weight issues and how those came about, and how I think I had something to do with that, and how it's that mindset and how we're changing that. But in the meantime, so I felt like Bright Line Eating was the best thing for me, and I feel super, super healthy. And then, so I was eating basically a lot of my protein. When I first started, I used a lot of vegetarian protein, like the Morningstar Farms chicken and things like that, and I would put those in my salad. And then, because that was really expensive, because a small bag of that is $3 or $4, and it only lasts a couple meals, and that's just me. That's excuse me, that's not sharing with my kids. So I had switched to using cheese in my as my protein, and I was using cheese. I would have 2 ounces of cheese in the morning, my 1 ounce of Triscuits, and 6 ounces of banana. And so that was my breakfast every single day, and it was really working for me. And then when I stopped giving up the soy protein, I started having a huge salad, with 2 ounces of cheese in it. And then for my, or I would melt the cheese. I think in my little pizza thing, I would melt the cheese over it, and then use olives as my fat instead of a dressing for my salad, but I would use cheese. And then that was what I was doing for dinner, as I was also using cheese in some way, shape, or form. Either as the protein, mixed in with a salad, or or over the top of the pizza, vegetables, or whatever. I was using cheese. So basically, I was eating cheese 3 times a day. Lo and behold, during the time, I went from, sorry about that, my nose itches. I went from feeling really, really fantastic, and I still was feeling fantastic, but I wasn't having any health problems. Well, I mentioned this in another video, I can't remember which one, but I ended up going to the hospital because I had a kidney stone. And I don't necessarily think that's related to the cheese, but it kind of started things in a downward spiral. And then I started having back pain after I had the kidney stone, which I thought was related, but it really hung on. And I couldn't really figure out what it was. Well, someone at our church had been having back problems for quite a while, and she went in and had an x-ray, and they found out that she had cancer all through her spine. And the only like indication that she had that was low back pain. So I started freaking out, like thinking, oh, please tell me this isn't that. And during that time, I started listening. If you have read Susan Peirce Thompson's book, there's one part where she talks about reading the China study and how that changed her life, and how she went from plant-based. She that day, the day she read it, she changed to a plant-based diet. That's pretty much what happened to me. Because she had recommended it, and because her book is so scientifically based, I didn't feel like it would be like a crazy opinionated book. And so I actually listened to it on audio because, like I said, I have 5 kids and we homeschool them, and that leaves me very little time to just sit down and devour a chapter at a time and actually make sense of it. So I listened to the audiobook. They had it at my library, so I listened to it for free, and it really was life-changing. I have been vegetarian for most of my life. And I became a vegetarian when I was 9. So I've been a vegetarian for a very long time. But what they call an ovo-lacto vegetarian, someone who eats milk and cheese and eggs and things like that. I've been vegan off and on, trying to lose weight. Not to be vegan, just trying to lose weight. And I now realize after doing Bright Line Eating that of course you don't lose weight just becoming vegan, because I was the vegan that would try to replace everything I was used to eating with a vegan alternative. So, I would be still eating like things sweetened with agave nectar and tons of dates. And there's like, for those little skinny vegans, it would they'd be like, oh, this is such a great snack, but you just put like peanut butter inside of a date and make it into a little popper. Well, if you eat 2 of those, that's not so bad. If you eat 20 of those, that's like the calories of a date and the calories of the peanut butter. Now, we don't actually eat peanut butter in this house because my son's allergic, but we eat wow butter and sun butter and almond butter and all those things. So same thing. So I had been vegan, but then after that, then I started going, oh, these what are they? Ritz crackers are vegan. Oreos are vegan. So I started like eating those things, and then I obviously didn't lose weight, but I was doing it to lose weight. And I've been a vegetarian for animal reasons. So yes, there are absolute animal reasons to go with the vegan diet, but that really wasn't why I was doing it. I was doing it because, who eats a plant-based diet and is fat? Oh my goodness. I was not losing any weight. In fact, I was gaining weight because I kept thinking I would just lose weight naturally, by being vegan. So I went back to eating milk and cheese. Well, okay. So fast forward to, I listened to the China study, blew me away. I found out that the casein, the protein in cheese and dairy and all that has been really, really scientifically linked to cancer. And you can believe it or not believe it. Like I listened to the data, and because Susan Peirce Thompson is so like everything she has is so scientifically based and backed up by data, I really trusted it when she said that she like trusted the data. And so I listened to it, and in fact I listened to it twice, and the data really shows that a high protein diet with a lot of animal products in it can cause cancer. And so just like that, I just gave up dairy. I went like the only thing I was eating for protein was cheese, so I gave that up, and I've replaced it with beans. And I have replaced it with, beans and nut butter and some tofu and some vegan veggie burgers and things like that. But however, I will say, I think that might have had something to do with my stomach being in an uproar, because I suddenly went from like the cheese, which kind of slows things down, to like more fiber than I had ever had before. Not only fiber from all the vegetables and fruits I was eating, but also fiber from the beans and all those things. So I decided, my husband and I and our kids were going to be plant-based because of our family history. And I realized, and this might be why it's all related and why we decided to go plant-based, I realized that my husband and I are currently at the exact age where, my husband's 2 years older than me, we are at the exact age where my dad died and my mom became a widow. Like, we're exactly the same ages as that happened. And I'm thinking, I don't feel old. I don't feel ready to die. So because we have a family history of cancer, we have a family history of heart disease, I think this is a small step. So I think it has done nothing but help me to lose weight. I haven't weighed in since I've only been like plant-based, I guess, for about 5 days. I intend to make this a lifestyle change. I don't intend to go back or only do this for a diet thing. I intend to live a very long, happy life. I had my kids very late. I seem to be the most fertile human being on the planet. I'm able to get pregnant into my late 30s, my mid 30s, my late 30s, and my 40s. And yeah, so I had my kids late and I don't want to die. And so anyway, so that's the story. We've become, and I will keep you guys updated. So far, other than having the little over fibering issue, I feel pretty fantastic, and I realize all the things I've done wrong being vegan in the past. And in my next video, I will address what we're doing to help our kids to get their eating under control, to have a healthier lifestyle, and especially my oldest, to not necessarily lose weight, but to grow into his weight. So I don't know, I hope this wasn't a pointless video. I just wanted to tell you guys like kind of where we went. I highly recommend you listen to the China study. It's interesting, there's a book called Skinny Bitch that I had listened to a long time ago, and it really kind of focuses on the vegan aspect. And even though it tells you kind of the same thing that the China study tells you, it's kind of a little bit more of a like hidden, like a little bit more of an animal rights thing. So I still was thinking, well, if we're not eating animals, you know, then I was still eating Oreos and stuff. So, but now I re-listened to that book and actually was like, wow, yeah, they also tell you that Oreos maybe aren't the best solution to veganism. So, I prefer to not say vegan. It makes us sound like crazy people. I prefer to say plant-based, you know, trying to avoid heart disease, stuff like that. So anyway, that's where I am. I will let you know how it affects my weight loss, how it affects my life, and how it affects my family. My husband is currently listening to the book because he's a little skeptical. He's also a vegetarian, but he is he's a fan of cheese. So he's currently listening to the book to see what he thinks. So anyway, have a wonderful Merry Christmas, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. I might even see you next year.